You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome to Daytime Ottawa here on Rogers TV. I want to make sure I mention off the top here, wait until the end of the show. Stay tuned to the very end because we have a wonderful contest that we're running here on the show. We've partnered up with Bruno Racine's salon just down the road here in Westboro and L.A. Barrett. Wonderful makeup artists. They've both worked with some of the biggest stars in North America. And this is a chance for you to enter your mom, that beautiful person in your life, to win a complete makeover courtesy of them. We'll tell you more about it at the end of the show. But we kick off the show with our next guest to talk about invasive plants, and we're probably going to surprise you with some of those invasive plants on the show today. Sandor Alfred Purvis, owner of a cultivated art and a certified landscape designer, architectural technician. You wear many, many hats. Welcome back. Great to have you here.
Thanks. Good to be back.
What is the definition of an invasive plant?
So invasive plants are ones that have shown up here usually because we brought them, most of them we brought on purpose because they had some service they provided us, and so, or we liked the way they looked and we brought them from Europe or Asia, and we introduced them here in our gardens. And then whatever creatures used to eat them, where they came from, didn't also come. So whether that's insects or butterflies and moths, like the caterpillars from those, or whether it's different types of herbivores, like the deer here might not like them, but what they used to eat them. So they got here and nobody was eating them.
Right.
So all their energy goes into making more plants. And some plants are just really, really good at being competitive. Not everything we call invasive sometimes is actually ecologically invasive. There's some plants that if you put them in your garden will take over your garden, but if you put them out in the ecosystem, they can't compete in the ecosystem. So those are ones that might drive people nuts when they plant them in their yard, but they aren't actually causing a lot of ecological damage. And then sometimes there's this weird flip of plants that seem to behave really nicely in our yards are actually causing quite a bit of havoc out in the ecosystem.
Interesting. And so how does that happen? That is basically insects and birds and so forth, taking them from our garden and bringing them out into that ecosystem? That's the idea?
So the sort of the most problematic species are ones where either the seeds are usually in berries that the birds will eat, and then they will fly off to a forest, and then they poop. And they've planted the seeds in the woods, and they're far from our garden, and it's a different ecosystem. So plants that we might not see self-seeding in our yards are actually successfully overwhelming forest ecosystems and taking up all the space where all the native shrubs should be. They're actually out competing them because the deer tend to eat the native shrubs and not eat the non-native ones. So over time, it just keeps shifting these areas more and more and more to non-native species.
So what is happening then? Perhaps it's, I don't think it's municipal, but is it on a provincial and federal level? Are things starting to happen to educate people more?
Well, it's mostly, if you'll pardon the term, a grassroots effort.
I like the term.
So right now, there is a very short list of regulated species, ones that you are not allowed to dig up and give away or sell or introduce further into the ecosystem. But it's a very short list, and they're not ones you would tend to find at a garden center, and they're often ones that people actually don't want in their gardens. But if you go even just across the lake, so down into New York and lots of surrounding states, there's long lists of species that are actually banned from sale now.
Really?
And then there's a few that they actually have to legally label them as this is an invasive species, do not plant near a natural area, even though they're still selling them, and then there's still pressure to stop selling them. But here, there's in Ontario, there's almost no restrictions, but there is an organization working on trying to change that. So
you sent us a multitude of photos, right? And so I'm going to ask them just to start, and we can spend maybe, a couple of minutes on each of them. So let's bring up one of those photos. What are we looking at here? Because this is
amber maple. You can see them all over the city. They turn bright red in the fall. The keys are that sort of bright reddish pink in the summertime, and they seed like you would not believe. There's some places out sort of the eastern greenbelt here around the city where they're just taking over. They're filling the whole sort of small tree layer, and you can really spot them in the fall because they turn bright red. Right. So you can see whole
exactly
swaths and swaths of these, and you can still go to a garden center and buy this tree.
And the danger is that's going to push out some of the native trees within this size, right?
Yes, and the other thing being, a lot of our native maples, they're actually in bloom right now.
Right, yeah.
And so they're feeding all the pollinators right now. These bloom in the summertime when there's lots of other food here. So the native maples are actually timed to feed the native pollinators.
Okay.
These are much later blooming.
Here's another maple.
Yep, and the same issue of the later blooming is the Norway maple. And they have their flowers and their keys in the summertime when they're not as needed by the ecosystem, but also very, very few things eat Norway maple. And so they have actually taken over like all of ravine parks in Toronto.
Really?
Almost all the native plants are gone. It's all Norway maple, and all over the city here in Ottawa you can find them.
So how can you tell the difference between a Norway maple and sort of our, typical Canadian maple?
The keys are a bit different because they are held almost horizontally to each other in the pairs as opposed to really angled.
Okay.
And another really good way to tell for a young one is it only works for about the first half of the summer, but if you fold the leaf so it sort of breaks one of those long veins, Norway maples bleed white. And native maples don't. And all the purple-leafed ones are Norway maples, but their seedlings usually have green leaves.
Gotcha.
And they're really competitive, and you can find them all over in neighborhoods. They're all along sort of people's back fences.
I would imagine this is a popular one for gardens.
They are.
I've seen a few.
All kinds of commercial properties, all kinds of places. And this is barberry, and they're really popular because they come in that purple or gold or sort of this neat speckled light colored, and they're really popular, and you see them everywhere. And their seedlings are, again, they tend to revert to the green leaf. If you look really closely at these shrubs in the fall, they have these red berries. The birds eat them. They go out to the forest. They drop the seeds out there, and these form really dense patches eventually. And because they're thorny, predators can't get in them very well. So mice populations really take off, and tick populations take off, and they're really
So this is sorry to cut you off, but this is one of those ones where it's not necessarily bad in your garden. It's the fact that it's bringing it into that other ecosystem that's dangerous, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And they're actually related to increases in Lyme disease in the population.
Okay.
So they're kind of a problematic plant to have, but they're so pretty we keep planting them.
We've got about a minute left in this first segment. You're sticking around for another, so let's bring one more up here. Oh, the burning bush! This is so popular!
I know, because they're gorgeous. They turn this incredible scarlet in the fall. I understand why we love them. They form a nice shrub. They're prunable. You can trim them, and they're pretty. So, and they don't run and form a thicket or anything else. But again, they produce these little seed capsules that the birds will eat in the fall, and they fly in the forest. And that photo there that's a whole hillside covered with nothing but burning bush. And other than the seeds that the birds eat, nothing else is edible about it.
And nothing else is going to grow around it either,
exactly.
Right? It's just it's completely taking over the area. My goodness. You brought one along here that I told you I have at my cottage. I was surprised to hear what you had to say, so you stick around. We'll tell you what this is right after the break. We'll be back with Sandora from A Cultivated Art right after this. Don't go anywhere.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
This guy's just absolutely dynamic when it comes to putting the puck in.
This guy, something else.
Here comes the 67th. Wow.
And now the Rangers are away.
His acceleration's off the charts.
That's a player that all eyes in the NHL are going to be on tonight.
You are not going to sit there and tell me that this guy is not going to be a future NHLer. This kid is something special.
The OHL playoffs on Rogers TV.
Some of Canada's most interesting and accomplished people share their lives, careers, insights, and stories each week on Canada Files. I'm Valerie Pringle, and I'll be speaking with economist Mark Carney, actor Eugene Levy, author Louise Penny, and architect Moshe Safdie, among others. I hope you can join us.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to the show. We are back with Sundora from A Cultivated Art, and I mentioned these plants. I have them at my cottage. They look beautiful. You probably see them on the side of the roads too, going through cottage country. It turns out they're an invasive plant. Sundora, what have you brought along with you here today?
So, well, this is a good example of, I also have some invasive plants at my place. So, but I'm working on taking them out, sort of working my way through them. And I dug these up last fall, and they sat on concrete all winter. And as you can see, they're still alive and happily
sitting
growing.
outside all winter, frozen.
Some of them walked on a few times. I went over and I grabbed them off the pile to bring them in here today. Because while they seem impossible to kill, and you do still have to dig them up, but even if you dig them up, as you can see, they won't just give up and die conveniently for you. They're going to keep trying to grow. So how do you get them to stop doing that? Well, if you do take them apart, each of them will have a clump.
And these are what?
This works better.
These are those orange lilies?
These are the orange ditch lilies. Okay. And specifically, if you hear daylilies are invasive, this is the one they're talking about. It's not all your other pretty garden ones. This is a specifically different species, but they don't produce viable seed, but they spread like crazy, and we move them around because they're really low maintenance and easy to take care of, and people take them to their cottages.
They were there when I started, I promise.
Same as they were there when I moved in. But you can kill them. Taking them out of the ground won't do it.
Won't do it, okay.
And I don't tend to like to throw too much in the garbage because, you know, that's organic matter. That's just going.
Absolutely. Can you compost all of this?
If you chuck it in the compost, I swear they'll just be growing 4 years later still in the same compost pile. You can pile stuff on top of them, they'll grow outside.
What about your green bin? Like when they pick it up, can you be confident
them in the green bin. Yes, the green bin is safe for any of the invasive species if you're trying to dig them up and get rid of them from your space. The green bin is where to put them, not the yard waste, because the green bin gets hot. The processing, so it will kill off plants. But with these orange daylilies, and I'm going to show you here, all of these tubers, they won't grow back if they're separated from the plant. The part that grows back is this little crown and any of these little shoots that are coming off the side. So I tried this a couple of years ago because I had this theory, because I've grown other plants from tubers, and if the tuber is broken off, you can't grow anything from the tuber. It has to have the crown. So I went and I sliced a bunch of them up where I just took all the tuber bits off and made sure there was no crown joining them. And then I chucked all this stuff actually in the garden instead of the compost because I wanted to be able to see them, and they did not grow back. So all that won't grow back, amazingly, and I chucked them onto a pathway again, and I left them sitting there. I did that in the fall. The next spring, the little itty-bitty crowns that I had put on the pathway were still trying to grow. But that's the only part. So that part you might still want to chuck in the green bin.
It just shows you how hardy the plant world is, right?
But all that can go in your compost, and that goes in the green bin. So you don't have to throw as much away. Or you can, again, leave it on the driveway, leave it on the pathway. They will eventually die. But, yeah, they can be a real challenge. Although, interestingly, if you do it this time of year, you can save this and stir-fry them, because that part's, you can eat that part. There's a reason some of these plants followed us to this continent. We could eat them. Even the tubers are actually edible, but that would be a lot of scrubbing.
I might give that a try. I'm open to trying things like that. We've got some other photos to go through, so we'll bring up some some of those other photos and have a look and see what other invasive plants are out there that we should not be putting into our gardens for a particular reason. Winter creeper.
Yes, the euonymus is lovely. Again, the gold and the variegated green, and then the solid dark green, and they hold their leaves all winter, so we tend to like to put them in our gardens because it gives us an extended season of interest. You can prune them to all different shapes. They're kind of like Play-Doh that way. A lot of these are plants I used to put on plants, so I'm not angry at people for putting them in their gardens.
No, you've learned.
I want you to know so that you don't have to make the same mistakes.
Right.
So again, these have berries that the birds will eat, and they'll end up in the forest, and they form these dense ground covers, and they outcompete all of our little native plants in the woods.
What about sumac? I don't know if you've brought that. It is, okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought so, but I wasn't sure because I mean that sumac grows like crazy.
And that's the difference between a competitive species and an invasive species. Sumac won't harm the ecosystem. They will totally take over your entire yard if you plant them, but they won't hurt the ecosystem.
White mulberry, tell me about this.
So all those weeping mulberries you see everywhere, any of the fruiting ones, those berries, again, birds eat the berries and then take them off into the woods. The trees that grow from them are not small weeping trees. They're big, competitive, fast-growing trees that can form really thick canopies, and again, outcompeting some of our native forest species.
Well, and I guess too, when that canopy forms with those kind of things, right? The sunlight's no longer getting to the ground, which can be very important to native species,
and they're fast-growing, so they can be really competitive.
Oh, a lot of people will be disappointed in this one.
Yeah, this is kind of a tricky one because not every one seems to produce a lot of viable seed, but some of them do.
Okay.
And we need to stop selling them because the ones that do, I kid you not, I've seen carpets of seedlings under them. And this is one that's been identified as an invasive species for Ontario. Because the Auditor General, of all people, actually did a report a couple of years ago of species that should no longer be sold in Ontario. And all the ones I'm showing you here are on that list.
Really?
Yeah, because of their ecological harm.
So this is the difficult part, right? Garden centers are still selling some of these types of species. What's the resource we should be going to make sure we're not being sold something that's going to damage the ecosystem?
So the Canadian Coalition for the invasive species regulation has a good website.
Okay.
So if you just Google them, Canadian Coalition for Invasive Species Regulation, they provided a bunch of the photos we actually saw today.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Because I went, I need pictures of invasive plants and pictures of native plants. And so they're a good resource. There's also, if you just search Plant Me instead, that you can find some really good resources that show you the invasive species and then a native or at least a non-invasive species you can plant in your garden instead of the invasive ones.
So you can find those alternatives, right?
Yeah.
Because I think, some people are probably watching going, oh, but I'm going to lose some of the beauty that I love, but that's not true. We have a lot of native beautiful plants, right?
There are, and for everybody who's kind of going, I need this written down, I'll do a Facebook post on my Cultivated Art page later today with a bunch of links, so some resources so people can have a list of what not to buy or get at the plant swap.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Again, at Cultivated Art, you can find her on Facebook. She'll put that up a little bit later on, and you can visit her website, cultivatedart.com. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hi, can I take your order? Hello?
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra baked?
No. Could I get a burger with a side of fries?
Think you're a better driver when you're high? Think again. Smoking weed affects reaction time and concentration. A message from Mad Canada.
Leonard Thompson, 13 years old, diabetes mellitus, 65 pounds.
Starve the child to let them live. The treatment's as cruel as the disease. It's a death sentence.
Dr. Banting.
This could be it.
He's the first to receive this trial.
But will it save him?
It's not pure enough.
So we try again. And again. And again.
Before the discovery of insulin, diabetes was a death sentence. Banting, Best, Collip, and McLeod's breakthrough has saved millions of lives. Leonard Thompson's was the first.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
Join us for the new season of Ottawa Storytellers, right here on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to the show. Savvy Company is always up to something, and it's not mischievous. It's something fun that we can all get involved with. I was just saying to my next guest, Debbie Trenholm, who started this company many years ago, boy, oh boy, she's so innovative. She's come up with so many different ideas through the pandemic to today. I'm just so incredibly impressed. Shirley Roy is a Savvy Company sommelier. She joins me here on the show today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am great, thank you. Always a pleasure having you back. For people that aren't familiar with Savvy Company, they should be, of course, but give us a little bit of a rundown, because you guys do so much now.
Well, that's the hard part of trying to, the so-called elevator pitch. What does Savvy Company do?
Yeah.
They do a lot. So we feature Canadian wines, craft ciders, artisan cheese, and micro-roasted coffee beans now. But of course, as you mentioned, Debbie Trenholm, who started Savvy Company, started out kind of just focusing on Canadian wines, and then realized there are so many great makers out there, and you know, we're supporting the people that are in our own country that are making fabulous products. And there's lots to choose from when you go to the LCBO, but these bottles are not at the LCBO.
Right. Yeah, and I love that focus, right? Because you introduce us to these hidden gems. You know, you can get your monthly subscription, so you find out about a brand new winery. Yeah. But better yet, you know, you have these great in-person events, and you've got 2 events coming up. One's a dinner. Let's first of all talk about the Cheers Ontario dinner that you have
The Winemakers Dinner, which we don't often get to do in Ottawa. We've done a few in Kingston and a couple of other places, but this is going to be a great night. It's out in Canada at Bar From Afar, which is up and coming it started off as in the pandemic, as a pandemic business, sending out just cocktail kits, but now they've got this beautiful little cafe. They're making wood-fired pizzas, and they are doing catering, and they're doing a fabulous job at the food part, as well as the cocktails and wine. So we've partnered with Bar From Afar in Canada, and we have 3 Ontario wineries coming. Meldville Vineyards, or Meldville Wines, rather. Divergence is also a Niagara winery, and Clausen Chase from Prince Edward County.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
them.
Yeah.
3 winemakers coming, bringing 2 wines each, actually 3, because we're going to start the evening. They all make a sparkling wine, and so we're going to start with a little sample of each of their sparkling wines, and then we're going to have 3 courses. And actually, I meant to print it off, but I've got it here on my phone. So we've got the first course, a beautiful beet carpaccio salad, so different kinds of beets, delicately sliced, little bit of horseradish goat cheese crema paired with 2 wines. Main course, we can either choose from a seared cabbage wrapped halibut or a sous vide spring chicken, and both have local vegetables, some cauliflower puree, a mushroom jus. So really beautiful spring menu sourced from local ingredients. Producers. And then our last course will be 5 Canadian artisan cheeses and some wines to go with those cheeses.
Wine and cheese. I mean, to this day, I remember Vanessa, who's worked with Savvy over the years, and she's a cheese sommelier, and some of the cheeses that she's introduced and how she figures out how to pair them just blows my mind how great you guys do at that.
It's not I wouldn't say it's a science, but there's so many different cheeses and subtleties to those those cheeses and trying to find the right wines. It's a fun research thing to do, but yeah, Vanessa's very good at it.
Let's talk winemakers, because you'll be able to meet, 22 winemakers at the Cheers Ontario Taste and Buy event that's happening the following day, right?
The next day, yes. So they're all in town with VQA Wines of Ontario doing a big trade event in the afternoon. So we thought, let's do a big consumer event in the evening. And it's at the Chateau Laurier. We have 22 wineries that will be represented. And so what happens is, and we have these events quite often, we call them our Taste and Buy events, where you buy a ticket to get in the door, we give you a glass as you walk in, and you can go around the room and sample whatever you would like.
Right.
A sample is being, announced.
Yeah, exactly.
And then and again, the beauty of these events is if you find some wines you really like, you can buy them that night. You can't take them home that night. We order them. We get the wineries to send us the wine, and within a couple of days, we send you your...
Yeah, you get a little pamphlet that you can write everything down on and put the order in right there.
2 of those, 3 of those. So it's a way to really find some new favorites and to meet the people who are making these products. Like you said, that's part of the experience. These are passionate people about wine. You can ask them anything. They may talk your ear off maybe a little bit longer, because making wine
is passionate,
right? They're passionate, and it is quite a process. I always say it's a blend of geography, chemistry, and food and wine kind of pairings, that kind of hospitality angle. So there's a lot that goes into it.
I notice you've poured us a couple of glasses here of rosé, which you have a rosé event coming up a little bit later on, I believe in June.
Spring,
we'll have you back for that one. But tell me about this particular wine.
This is from Tawes, which is in Niagara, of course, and have been there for quite a while. Lovely rosé made with Gamay grapes, I believe.
Okay.
So again, making a rosé, there's different styles of rosé. This is a nice dry, very kind of grapefruit, strawberry. It's got a little bit of a lovely aroma. It's all about spring, right? This is the season for rosé.
And I said to you before the show, and it's only because Debbie has introduced me to some, but I mean, rosés have come a long way just in the last decade, right? Like people used to be like going to the LCBO, oh, I'm not touching the rosé section. Now it is huge.
And it is big,
right?
And you can still find the sweet ones, which I think a lot of people were turned off by too much residual sugar in the wine. And you can still find the odd rosé that's got some residual sugar if that's what you're looking for, maybe for a dessert course or something like that. Of course. But most of Ontario rosés, I'm finding, are pretty dry.
Nice. Well, let's give this a try, shall we? Cheers. Oh, is that ever nice?
Right?
Yeah.
It's just such an easy drinking wine, whether you're having it on its own, in the backyard, in the sunshine today.
Oh, today and tomorrow.
Right?
Grab a rosé and get...
makes your mouth water.
Yeah, and again, want to remind everybody at home that you're going to meet all of the wines you're going to find at this event, you will not find at the LCBO. Every single wine, right? Which is so incredibly impressive. You're going to find all these wonderful hidden gems. Shirley, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Again, the Winemakers Dinner is Wednesday, April 17th, and then the Taste and Buy is April 18th. You can get your tickets at savvycompany.ca. We'll be back with more right after this. We know how amazing moms are, and just in time for Mother's Day, here's an opportunity to tell us how great she is and make her eligible to receive an exclusive makeover package. Just send us a few sentences telling us why your mom is so special and why she deserves a free professional makeover. The winner will receive an incredible makeover prize pack consisting of makeup and hair care services courtesy of Bruno Racine's Salon and L.A. Barrett. They have both worked with some of the biggest stars in North America.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV. Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Hello, I'm Liz Dowdswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. In 2008, carbon monoxide, a deadly invisible gas, killed an entire family in our province. That tragedy led to a new law requiring homes with potential CO sources to have alarms. John Gignac's family members passed away that day, and he shares his story to save others.
Please make sure you have working CO alarms in your home. Protect your family today.
Watch Podium exclusively on Rogers TV.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Hey, welcome back to the show. You'll recognize my next guest. She's a regular here on the show, and today we get to sit down and relax together and talk about something that we're all craving to get back to, and that is traveling. Lucia Zagumas joins me, lifestyle blogger and influencer. How are you?
Good, you?
I'm doing great. I know you and your family, you absolutely love traveling.
Yes.
Today, though, we're going to talk about more like off-season traveling. What do you mean by off-season exactly?
So off-season traveling is the periods where it's less busy. So we're used to traveling March break, of course, when the kids are off school, over the Christmas holidays, like that period right before Christmas until after New Year's.
Yeah.
And of course, the summer months, right, where it's like the time to go when school's done, end of June through to August, end of August. So those are the busiest times to travel off-season, is when you travel April, May, and June. So spring and the beginning of summer, but it's not quite the tourist trap time yet, where it's like crazy and overwhelmed with people traveling everywhere. And in the winter, or the fall, actually, leading up to December the 15th. So, you know, October, November, December. So these are the off-season travel periods where if you're a travel enthusiast and you know a lot about travel, you would be booking your trips during these time periods.
Okay, and now that, and we're talking about significant savings here. Tell me, like, how much can you save during this time?
You could save during so much.
Really,
and an example is Air Transat has a great promo right now until April 23rd. So you could book the off-season prices where you can explore so many destinations in Europe and down south for a fraction of the cost of what you would be paying in the summer. So if your full airfare ticket round trip to Europe is like $1,500 to $2,000 during the high season or during like July and August, it would be starting at $549 if you're looking for a round trip to Europe. And this is all you have to do is book a couple of weeks before the time. Let's say you were thinking of going into beginning of July. If you actually took a step back and maybe booked it for the beginning of June or May, you're saving a substantial amount of money on just your airfare alone with Air Transat. And they also, of course, have promo deals with the Caribbean. So if you're looking to go to Jamaica, Dominican Republic, anywhere down south that's warm, if you avoid the summer months, like the peak summer months, July and August, and go maybe May, or in the fall as well, is a great time to travel, October and November. I mean, that's when the weather starts changing here too. And if we have good summers here, so maybe just save your trip until September or October, and then you're still getting this beautiful vacation, you're getting the sun on your skin, but you've enjoyed your summer in Ottawa, and then you're taking your vacation right after that as well.
I agree, because not everybody can afford to travel, and then they kind of look at those prices when they want to go away. Well, you're still going to have the same experience, and sometimes better.
That's the thing.
Right? If you're going to an all-inclusive, let's say you mentioned down south, the Caribbean, you go to Jamaica, Cuba, something like that, you're going to have like probably 40% less people in your resort, right?
Exactly.
Than
so
you were
of
at
course there's that benefit and bonus of traveling down south and booking your trip with Air Transat during the off-peak season of travel, where it's going to be a little bit more roomy and like you'll grab a chair by the pool, no problem, right? Or by the sea or by the ocean. Of course, and Europe. The benefit to traveling off-season in Europe, there's so many benefits. Number one, it's cheaper not only for your flights, but the hotels are so much cheaper and more affordable. the destinations, the tourist attractions. If you want to go to the Parthenon, let's say in Greece, in the summer, you book your tickets online, but you're still going to be waiting in a lineup, and it gets so crowded. So if you're going in October or May, you're going to be enjoying the sights with like not many people around you. It's an amazing idea to do that. If you're a real travel enthusiast, if you want to see the sights and explore the museums, you're going to have less people, less crowds, at much more affordable prices. And another big bonus, especially in Europe, I'm used to traveling to Europe in the summertime. I'm used to the 40+ temperatures and the heat waves. But if you're not loving that type of weather, when you go in September or October or April or May, you're not looking at those 45-degree days. You're going to enjoy milder temperatures where you'll be able to explore at a more leisurely pace. You won't faint on the top of the Parthenon where you'll need some way to get down.
It's so encouraging when you're saying it, because these are sometimes we think of, Greece, for instance, it's an exotic destination. I'm never going to be able to afford it. But if you go in that off season with that kind of significant save, you can check it off your bucket list,
It's so much more affordable, especially if you have a family you're traveling with, 1 or 2 people, okay, maybe you can make it work. But off season with kids, if you have a family of 4 or 5, you're looking to save a substantial amount of money on your airfare with Air Transat, on your hotels, and restaurants too. The prices actually do increase during the high seasons, especially in cities like Athens or the islands like Mykonos or Santorini. The prices are much higher.
Menu changes.
Yeah, exactly. We got the tourist menu out. So of course, less crowds. You can book tourist groups easier. Like if you need a guided tour, those are easier to get into, and there'll be less people in your guided tours, of course. So you'll be able to ask those questions. You can connect with the locals and the culture a little bit more when there's less crowds. You'll have, you'll be able to speak to the community and to the locals that you're
go into the markets
seeing.
Too, right?
Exactly,
And maybe if some people, that go into a hotel, they may get a kitchenette. Maybe you can do a lunch yourselves, right?
Cook
go
yourself.
and visit.
There's a lot of destinations that do, cooking lessons. So you can cook like a local, learn how to cook like a Greek if you're going to Greece, for example, or down south. There's so many different examples. But the benefits of traveling off season sometimes are really important to keep in mind when you're looking to book your trip.
You travel extensively, so I'll pick your brain. You're traveling, and you're going through international airports and everything, and luggage and so forth. What do you suggest people do to make that experience easier?
Yeah, so try to pack smart and try to dress smart as well. You were showing me your shoes that are easy slip-ons, and that's just amazing.
These are so
Something
good.
like that, right? Because we're not looking for complicated. Don't wear your docks with like the lace-ups, right? That you have to take off when you're going through security. Wear comfortable, easy clothes. A sweater that a hoodie that can again with the zipper on and off, easy access to get through. We know what not to bring with us, right? Like don't have 10 bottles of water that you need to empty before you get to the gate. Travel with an air tag because that will help you find your luggage if it's lost. It's also peace of mind too. I like boarding a flight knowing my suitcase has made it on with me if I'm not doing carry-on, which of course I do try to promote carry-on as much as possible.
If you can do it, it's the way to go.
I do it for 2 to 3 day trips. I'm not gonna lie. My kids are now able to pack.
So they can probably do a 7-day.
They can do a month in Greece with a carry-on.
Really?
Yeah, they can. Yeah. I mean, we do have. I mean, if you have access to like a washer and dryer in your home, of course, it makes it so much easier, right? It is hard to pack a carry-on, but air tags do help.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Derek.
Check out Air Transat, by the way, before April 23rd. Book your destination. We'll be back right after this.
This is a perfectly healthy child. What's unhealthy are birth alerts, a racist practice that may stop this Indigenous mother from going home with her newborn. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
Learn all about the creation of the National Capital Region on The History of Ottawa, according to Phil Jenkins, on Rogers TV.
I hope you join us on the next Hour to Give. You're going to learn all about a wonderful organization called Helping with Furniture, and you'll be able to help as well, maybe with a donation of furniture or maybe with a financial gift. Join us for an Hour to Give.
Welcome back to the show. I know I say it every time, but I love theater, and there's so many great opportunities here in Ottawa. Suzart Productions puts on some of the best productions here in the city. It might be volunteers, but it's so professionally done. Their latest is called The Lightning Thief. Here to tell us all about it, I'm joined by Scott Shepard, president of Suzart Productions. Welcome, Scott. Great to have you here.
Nice
and Ana Lorena Fuentes-Roman, director of The Lightning Thief. Ana, welcome. Great to have you here as well. Scott, for those that aren't familiar with Suzart, tell us a little bit about Suzart Productions.
Yeah, so like you said, we do musical theater. We are 100% volunteer run. We have a focus on youth and families. And we really think that everybody should have the opportunity to experience the magic of musical theater, whether that's on stage or backstage or the audience. So we put a lot of focus on accessibility. We make sure our shows, the ticket prices are reasonable, affordable, especially for the quality of the show that we typically put on. Right. We keep our membership costs low so people can join. And we tailor our rehearsal schedules to people's busy lives. We've been doing this for over 20 years now, and we're still going strong.
Yeah. Anna, what brought you to Suzart Productions? Tell me a little about your background.
So my background is classical animation, actually, is where I went to school. Okay. Yeah, it actually ended up because I loved theater and I loved film, I kind of went, well, animation kind of is like a big musical most of the time, right? It's so over the top. Originally, I joined Suzart with Mamma Mia. They were looking for a costume designer, and I was like, well, it's my first time. I've never done it. Let's see how it goes. But they were great, and that's what I loved. Like, that's why I've stuck with them, because they are super supportive, and they're really keen to make sure that no matter your background, it's like you get the support you need, you get the encouragement you need, you get to explore like your creativity with them.
Right.
So that's why I'm
welcoming,
still here.
Right?
Exactly.
I think that's
Absolutely.
what, that Suzart's been on the show many times over the years, and that's kind of the feeling I always get when somebody comes in, is that it's such a welcoming atmosphere. The Lightning Thief. Tell me about this particular production, because this is a special one. You're excited.
We're so excited, and I'm very glad that the community has responded as excited as I am.
Nice.
Because it's a new show, and it came out on Broadway right before the pandemic, so it had to close kind of early. So it was a little bit of a gamble sometimes. You feel like, well, will people respond? But it's, it's the story of a young boy who discovers he's a demigod. He's the son of Poseidon. And all of a sudden, Zeus's lightning bolt has been stolen, and he's got to find a way to get it back, right? So it's a super duper fun show. It's got a lot of very exciting music. It's rock, it's pop. There's some musical theater in there. And it's really tailored to youth. It's really, the book series means so much to not just the cast that we're so excited to be a part of it, but just the community at large. There's so much love and desire for something to be done with this story that honors the themes of it and the characters and what it means to the fans. So that's what we're doing.
Very nice. Scott, when you hear that, right, I mean, just somebody describe, how do you go about deciding what productions you're going to put on each time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Our artistic director, Catherine Spear, does a huge amount of research, and so she often has a theme that she thinks about. So the theme of Lightning Thief, sort of finding your identity, finding your family, was a natural fit, and having a youth-focused show was a big priority for us, because for 4 years, kids didn't have that opportunity, right? And as Anna said, one of the things we were struck with, even when we started auditions for this show, was just the enormous amount of enthusiasm for it. We had 30 people waiting out the door at 9 o'clock in the morning for auditions, and these are teenagers, right? That. Yeah, so clearly we, tapped into this, enormous amount of enthusiasm for the show.
I recognized this shirt when you came in here, Anna, because my wife and I just finished watching the series. This series is a huge hit on Disney Plus right now, right? This is the camp shirt they wear on that Percy Jackson series, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, we did do our own design.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, that's another kind of thing. We want to reach out to even just local artists to be like, hey, showcase your work, you know?
Very cool.
So yeah, we had actually our stage manager design that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really fortuitous timing that the show came out, which just has amped up even more excitement for the show, because all of a sudden this new generation of people is getting introduced to the story, and they get so excited when they find out it's happening in Ottawa, right? I think they're so used to seeing these musicals happen in other cities that all of a sudden in Ottawa, so many people are messaging us, being like, oh my gosh, when can I get tickets? We're already like almost 80% sold, which is insane.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, but it's great to hear, because we're a few weeks away still, right?
Yeah.
May 22nd is your premiere?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So this, I mean, because it's volunteer theater, Scott, you were saying, you know, people are working together to figure out schedules. So what has that time commitment been like? What are rehearsals and so forth? Or maybe, Anna, you're better served. I don't know who's better served to answer that.
Sure. Generally, we try to stick to just rehearsing one day a week. Usually it's Sundays, and it's a big one. But it's kind of nice to have that day sort of dedicated. You kind of switch from whatever is going on in your life to like, we are demigods today. We are fighting so-and-so. We are choreographing this. So that's really fun. There is a huge amount of work that happens also with the crews, right?
Yeah.
In terms of, costumes, working away, sourcing material, sets, trying to work in our workshop, and basically using whatever materials we already have, ideally, to create something new, something exciting. A really big theme with this show was trying to capture the energy that is in the music and in the story within the design, right? So as you can see, we've got the super bright colors. I like to call it neon classical.
Nice.
And so that's been a very exciting sort of way to be like, how can we be thrifty in the way that the show is meant to be, but still showcase something really new and exciting. But yeah, it takes a huge amount of work from everybody involved. But it's really important that everybody is passionate about the show we do, because that's how we get it done.
Absolutely, and a great venue too, right, Scott? I mean, Meridian Theaters at Centerpoint. What a great partnership you've had with them.
Oh yeah, and it's wonderful because it's a professional space, right?
Yeah,
and so we have these kids get an opportunity to feel what it's like to be on a real stage.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you both. Really appreciate you joining us today. Again, that runs from May 22nd to 26th, 7:30 p.m., and they have Saturday, Sunday matinees at 2 p.m. I'll remind you again at the end of the show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this.
Like most of Canada's film and media industries, Todd Studio is mostly straight and white. But by pledging to check their privilege, Todd Studio can now help fund programs to finally create a more diverse talent pool. And Todd, you can stop hiding behind this plan. What?
Actually, I'm in the vents.
Stop hiding from our industry's lack of diversity and pledge to help POV fix it. Go to checkyourprivilege.ca.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV. With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to the show. One of my favorite parts of doing this show is our green room experience, because all the guests get to gather and they get to find out about each other and introduce each other. And it was purely by coincidence that I had both Julie and my next guest on the show, because they have a lot in common, and that is helping people with different abilities here in the city of Ottawa. I'm joined by Emma Brown. She's the founder of Wimble. Welcome, Emma. Great to have you back.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's talk about Wimble. And what was the inspiration behind it for you, Emma?
Yeah, so I have a younger brother with a physical disability, and he has personal care needs where he requires assistance for accomplishing activities of daily living. It's very common for people with disabilities to need assistance going to the bathroom, taking a shower, just doing very normal human activities day to day. And in his case, his routine caregiver sometimes can't make it last minute, or he has needs that come up unexpectedly outside of his routine schedule. And I've been the backup person for him for many years. So I wanted to build something where everyone could have access to a backup support system, regardless of whether or not they had a sister that lived down the street and accepted bribes.
So what is Wimble then? You've created this great way to connect people, right, and build a roster, if you will. Tell us about Wimble and how it works.
Exactly. I thought it would be as easy as just copying the Uber app and saying, instead of needing a ride from point A to point B, I need assistance going to the bathroom at this location at this time. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's the essential platform, is the ability for people who require personal care assistance to fill an urgent or short-term gap in their routine support system, to be able to say, hey, here's what I need, when I need it, where I need it, whether it's at school or at work or at a music festival or out at the mall with their friends or at a movie theater, and just give them that freedom to say, I need someone to meet me here to do these tasks at this time, and connect them with an available caregiver who's got time in their schedule and has the skills required.
So you've built a roster. How did you go about doing that, Emma?
Lots of trial and error.
I can imagine. Yeah.
So I think when we spoke last year, I was still in the error component.
Right.
So I ended up finding 2 great caregivers to bring on full time and sort of seed the supply side of the marketplace. And then they enabled us to build up enough demand to then justify bringing on more and more caregivers. So all of our caregivers are independent contractors. They most of them have full-time jobs in long-term care or with other clients, and they just happen to have a few hours here and there where they'd like to pick up extra shifts. So they all have gone through a really thorough vetting process. They have a recent vulnerable sector check. They have liability insurance, first aid, CPR, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And then they get access to the shifts that we post as they come in.
And you've created some great partnerships as well. Tell me about those partnerships and the idea behind that.
Yeah, again, I think when we spoke last year, I was like, we're talking to a festival that runs the Schmooze Fest, but we hadn't actually finalized any details yet.
Well played, yeah, I like that.
But yeah, we had a great summer last year with both Blues Fest and City Folk, sort of testing out our events partnership model. So our service enables event organizers to offer on-site personal care attendant services. So if anyone with a disability or who has personal care needs, a senior who might need assistance, is attending the event and doesn't have someone to bring with them, or they've planned someone to bring with them and they bail last minute, there's someone on site to help people get their needs met, to enjoy their beer, to get food from the food truck, to take a quick pee break between acts, like just enjoy their experience and not be stressed about how they're going to get their needs met.
And I imagine for this year that you're partnered, like that's a go now with Ottawa Blues Fest and City Folk. You also have a partnership with the Shaw Centre, is that right?
Yes, they've been amazing to work with. So we've set up a partnership with them where when event organizers come in and use their space, they are helping us promote Wimble to those event organizers. So as conferences book and I don't know, they host hundreds of events per year, so they'll all get Wimble. They'll get Wimble in front of all of those event organizers for us and help get the word out.
So you're a year in. Tell me what's the feedback been like so far?
Well, I have a few more gray hairs, but
I imagine. Yeah.
I think the feedback has overall been really positive, which is always helpful to keep going when things are difficult and there's lots of challenges. For the most part, people have been really positive that we are filling a desperately needed gap in the system. There are so many avenues to get routine supports. Even those aren't perfect, but there's just no other option for when someone needs something and they don't have friends or family nearby, or their friends and family are at work, or they're asleep because it's later in the evening, or so people are really having their lives dictated by those routine support systems instead of being able to live their lives and fill the gaps as needed.
What's your biggest challenge? Building the roster, or getting more partnerships? Like, how do you see it? Like, sort of, what's your goal, I guess, moving into year 2?
That's a very good question. The biggest challenge, I think, and I don't know that it's ever going to go away, is as a two-sided marketplace, you're constantly balancing supply and demand.
Right.
And I've read books on how Uber and Airbnb and Lyft do it, and that's just never going to go away. That's the nature of the business, where every week you look like, do we have more demand than we can fill supply-wise, or do we have idle hands that aren't getting enough hours? And then you push one side to try to balance things out. So that's just going to be a constant part of the business. Getting the word out there about our event services is definitely something I'm hoping to work more on this year, because when we do talk to events and we explain what we're doing and we give them examples of where we fill gaps for other event organizers, 9 times out of 10 they say, oh, thank God, this happened to us at the last event and we didn't know what to do, we didn't respond adequately, or we felt really bad that we couldn't support. So people see the need once we get in front of them and explain what we're doing, and it's usually a pretty quick conversation, but it's getting in those doors and having those conversations.
Well, hopefully this helps raise some awareness. I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much, Emma. www.wimble.ca, Wimble with an H.ca. We'll be back with more right after this.
Join us for the new season of Ottawa Storytellers, right here on Rogers TV.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV. Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Watch Podium exclusively on Rogers TV.
Well, we launched this last week. We have a fantastic contest to celebrate the special mom in your life. Here's a little video to tell you more about this fabulous contest. Have a look.
We know how amazing moms are, and just in time for Mother's Day, here's an opportunity to tell us how great she is and make her eligible to receive an exclusive makeover package. Just send us a few sentences telling us why your mom is so special and why she deserves a free professional makeover. The winner will receive an incredible makeover prize pack consisting of makeup and hair care services courtesy of Bruno Racine's Salon and L.A. Barrett. They have both worked with some of the biggest stars in North America.
Deadline for that, by the way, is midnight on May 5th, so make sure you get those entries in. I'll go over a couple of the events we talked about today. First of all, The Lightning Thief, the Percy Jackson musical. That's at Meridian Theaters at Centerpoint. 80% sold out already, so get your tickets. May 22nd to the 26th, 7:30 p.m. shows, and then Saturday, Sunday, matinee shows. And Cheers Ontario, Taste and Buy event at the Fairmont Chateau Laurier, April the 18th from 6 till 9. SavvyCompany.ca for tickets for that and for the dinner. We'll see you next time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Hey everybody, my name is Karen. I'm here with my best friends Shane and Monique. Join us on Rogers TV for Fitness Faction. Every week, we're going to take you through a full body workout. We've got strength training, we've got cardio, we've got HIIT. Ladies, let's get back into it.
I think we've got 10 more skaters. Let's go.
We know how amazing moms are, and just in time for Mother's Day, here's an opportunity to tell us how great